hold on to those questions so we can get up this busy street corner and we'll move on. So that way I can answer your questions in the next 2 stops. So the first thing we're going to be using is thermal imaging. So this is one of the first cameras I always bring out, so you should be able to see me in there, orange, red, and yellow guy. And I normally make the joke sorry Cameron, but I was actually expecting a bridal party with all of the names that we had. So I'm the hottest thing inside the video right now is normally the joke that I make to get all the ladies up and roaring. Yeah, I know, right? No, the next joke is the person who gets it says that I have a cold heart because there'll be a big blue spot. Yeah, it happens every single night, just so you know. But anyway, I point out that the hottest guy reference because we're looking for what? What do you think?
Heat.
Not heat.
Energy.
Too generic. Cold. We're looking for cold spots. It's the old adage that...
We're really stupid.
No, I want you guys to think simple.
Okay. We're looking for cold spots?
Correct.
Okay.
So cold spots, when I say cold spots, I'm looking for 15-degree differences from the ambient temperature, which tonight is about 60 degrees. So I'm going to be looking for 45 degrees and colder. Now, how do I do that? There's a blue dot that's bouncing around your screen. That blue dot is showing you the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. So that's the cool thing. It's going to be on your video. Yep. So it's going to bounce around. It's going to go to windshields. It's going to go to, anything metal because we're going to be the warmest thing out here, which is exactly why I make that joke at the beginning. So the cool thing is that it's going to be on your video, and this is a FLIR camera. So this is what firemen would use to actually help save people. Like, this is the real deal. This is not a phone app you can download. So as great as the hardware is, the software sucks. We're going to be doing a few starts and stops as we kind of go throughout our evening. This is not an every night catch, just so you know. And it's definitely not always an in-the-moment style catch. This is the slower the movements that we use with this, the more susceptible I am to find something tomorrow morning. Oh, by the way, there's 5 of you here. You're going to record anywhere between, I'd say, 5 to 8 hours worth of data. I am not going to go through all 5 to 8 hours worth of that data. I'm going to spot check everything. So aside from the regular audio. So again, I wouldn't have a life if I literally went through 8 to 12 hours worth of data on a nightly basis. Lindsay's like, yeah, I'm down with that.
No, I was saying I understand. I
yeah.
Do that, yeah.
I mean, I'm reading and studying and doing other things too. So I'm going to
do it.
This is cool.
All right. So welcome to a parking lot. Congratulations, you made it.
Who's buried here?
Nobody. Well, not anymore. We'll get into that later. So this place used to be something, but first and foremost, this is where I start withholding information for all the communication devices. I'm not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did with the Big Red Barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit box. So let's go through the brief history. This space
around the hall.
What is it?
Around the hall. So if something lights up, is it a person?
So whenever something lights up, you have to remember that that is a depth perception camera. So what it's doing is it's going to pick up trees and signs and cars and all that other stuff because it's looking for things with LiDAR technology, which is depth perception. So whenever I find something in there that's in the shape of a person, I take a screenshot of it, and because I take it from YouTube, screenshot it, and I lighten the picture to make sure it's not a sign, a tree, car, something along the lines. If there's nothing behind it, it's an obvious no. Good questions. She was supposed to ask that before. I'm gonna give her a hard time because she's literally like a YouTuber out here. I love it. So, but anyway.
You told us to record.
I know. I know. And you're going through, but we're gonna go through the history. Let's do this. So, this is the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion site. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant, came all the way across. We are standing in the servant and slave quarters. The property at the time actually overlapped the median that we have right now, but this is exactly where we're standing. So who the heck were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. So kind of keep in mind that that's 3 different Charleses. I did not give my example because I was thrown off. I normally look for 2 different things going on with your devices. So like the get out piece, I would look for something else like another spike. We did have a 3.7 that's around the same time that you heard that. So again, that would be a secondary clue. But here's an example. Let's say, God, why am I forgetting your name? Alicia. I think it's because of the spelling. It's throwing me off. So, let's say Alicia has the word art on her word list. That doesn't mean anything when we're even over here. But Kaylee, here's a number 40. We want to have one spirit box out here. Put them together. Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You see where this is more like the escape room? We have to put all the puzzle pieces together. But the 3 different Charleses, I need a secondary clue so I know which one is actually here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through that. But anyway, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. Big deal for us, but I hate politics. Let's move on, right? It's Women's History Month still. We got 2 days left. Let's do this. Sorry, Cameron. You go by Cameron, Cam, like
Anything.
Anything. He doesn't care. But anyway, so we're going to talk about Eliza. She married Charles at a young age according to today's standards. If you ask her how old she was when she got married, don't expect numbers like 12 and 14 from the colonial times that she came from. Think of today's standards of being young and being married. The reason I bring that up is because her husband, Charles, was over double her age when they married. So kind of a creepy
4.
age gap back. That's an
4.
interesting number.
4.
You just said that. 4.
I did not say that.
Well,
You said
whatever I heard.
Yes,
4.
and that is a relevant number to this location, but we haven't gotten to that point yet, which is very interesting. So, that is the number of children that she had. And that's a weird thing that pop up, so we're going to see how that goes. But anyway, oh, now the cop leaves. Good job. Blackfoot. Did I say that loud? Is anybody here a cop? Did I insult anybody?
No
Good.
cops.
So I make fun of the government a lot during this tour, and one night somebody told me that they were actually part of the CIA.
Oh,
Exactly, and they waited till like we were almost done. And I was like, oh, good, so I pissed you off all night long. He's like, yeah, pretty much. So anyway, back to Eliza. You got the age thing down. We're going to go through the next thing. But she married Charles because her husband, her father, was over in England. He thought he was dying. So he's trying to bring all of his kids home so he can see them one last time. Eliza didn't believe her dad was dying, so she stayed put and got married. It's 1744. You don't get married in that specific year to actually get a green card. Do you have something relevant?
Just hope. Right as you said that.
But again, you don't get a green card in 1744 because we're not a country. So, and she was right. Dad did not die right away. Instead, he started sending her gifts to the space where we're standing. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo.
Coming to North Charleston.
That's funny.
2 points.
Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue, if you're unfamiliar with what indigo is. Eliza didn't know what to do with the seeds when she got them. She learned from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's obviously not warm here all the time, for those of you that are not from here. I'm trying to remember who the hell's not from
Became
here.
a huge export from
It did.
the South.
Here's how. She got a hold of her dad after she figured out how to make the dye and said, our rice plantations are going downhill. I need some international contacts so that way we can make a killing with the indigo. And now we have an international business woman before we're even a country. So very big deal. So we talk about Eliza Pinckney a lot in some of the museums, but nobody ever takes you to the spaces that are more important to that. But anyway, let's get into the weird shit about Eliza, because that's why you guys are here. So we're going to go straight after. We already know how many children she had, but I will tell you the children questions, I say tread lightly. Please don't go any further. She's given us a number. There's a tragedy among one of those children, and if we piss her off, all activity stops. And that includes any EMF readings that Nicole's getting. So kind of keep that in mind. But we're going to give you some easy questions of things that we commonly get the answers to. Her death. How old she was, what did she die from, where she's buried, what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So very, very, like, notice that none of these are yes-no questions, just so you know. With yours, we've gotten Eliza's initials a lot on the Ouija board, and sometimes you get the full initials, which are ELP, some of them are EP. So it's just very interesting. What'd you get?
Revolution.
So remind me, we got to chat so I can write all this shit down. You had a 3.7, she's got 4, Revolution, something else she said. I'm going to write down the Get Out. So just to have it. Again, I'm not going to count it just yet. But the other piece, something we want to go after. So you have the word list. The mansion's not here anymore, right? You can't see it. What happened to it? And if you get an answer, when did that happen? We're obviously looking for a very specific date. Now, I want you to keep in mind, even though we only have 2 people with communication devices, we literally have 1, 2, 3, we have 6 places where answers can go. We have my audio, the 2 cameras, and the 3 different devices. So even though Kaylee might be asking about how old Eliza was when she died, the answer can come up over here. We never know where it's going to go. That's why I like to use multiple communication devices. So with your specific devices, the average spike for this location is between 18 to 22 millimeters. And that's on the red one, just so you know. Again, I want to see if we can get the same type of readings out of the tri-field as well. And again, we're going to explore the space. We're basically going to make about 2 rounds. I'm going to bounce around with everybody, kind of see what's going on with it. I got to keep Alicia behind so I can show her how to use that Ouija board a little bit further. And you're in the perfect spot. So holding it like that, or even the belly shot, is usually perfect. Same thing with you. If I do it, Andy's coming, or people are walking through here, just go straight to the belly.
That's my baby.
Hot damn. have anything going on with yours?
Just that name.
That's not a name, it's a book.
What's the book?
Quran.
The Islamic Bible.
Is it Islamic or Arabic?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm shaking.
So here's the interesting thing about your communication devices. When we get something weird, like I'm just going to use Connecticut as an example, and then we have a name like James or something, it predicts people on my next tour. I probably get that about a dozen times a year. So something saying something like Quran doesn't mean that I won't have somebody that's Islam or Arabic on. I don't know the exact where that ties into, but you're getting my point.
Yeah.
If we get somebody else's name like Muhammad or something along those lines, it's going to happen, which means they're going to be coming up on my next tour or they're going to book something. It's very interesting how this works. I see this shit all the time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Isn't it though? Welcome to my world.
Wow.
No such thing as coincidences.
No.
So here, just to give you another example, this one's perfect. This one just happened like 2 weeks ago. Somebody heard the name Oliver when I was talking about somebody named with the last name Reed, like read a book. The next day, I had a booking for Oliver Reed.
No way.
And it was somebody that made the booking. It wasn't somebody on my next tour. Like, I haven't even met Oliver yet. But I'm going to guarantee you, I'm going to tell him that story. Like, hey, the day you booked your tour, go back and look at their set of data. We heard the name Oliver, and we told it at the same time of you have the same last name as somebody else that I was talking about in history. So it was very interesting. It's not the same spelling, because Reed, that I told you about, is like Mary Reed, read a book. The other one was R-E-E-D. So again, same phonetic sound. Again, English major, sorry. I have to pay attention to all that shit. So I'm going to be writing down your stuff. I'm going to keep Alicia behind. We have somebody going to their car, so be very careful with your cameras. But the rest of you, I literally want you guys like walking around, spread around the space. So we're going to be going this way.
Just in the parking lot?
In the lot.
Okay.
So again, I'll do 2 quick rounds. Again, I promise this is a space I was looking to retire. Here's why. I was getting those hecklers and jerks on my tour that were like, "What's up, Eliza?" kind of bullshit. And like, that's disrespectful to a colonial woman. And I was getting messages, not radio chatter, disembodied voices saying, "Please just leave us alone. Just go away." Like, and I can analyze that to make sure it's not radio chatter. So the "please just leave us alone," 13 radio stations. I can count them. You can see the pulses when you look at it as an audio wave. So when I see those pulses, you can see it directly. Very cool stuff when I get to analyze a disembodied voice when I find them. But yeah, just please be respectful while we're in this space. Later on, you're going to know your ghost. So this is a very prominent English woman. But again, if your camera's not running, let's get that thing up and popping. Nice slow movements, even if you just want to find a corner. The only exit for vehicles is where we came in. Just kind of keep that in mind. Entrance and exit, that's the only way in and out. But yeah, spread out. I'm going to keep Alicia behind. Go do this. Let's get to work. Hoorah. All right.
I don't.
No, Nicole did. At least you don't show up.
I don't? Mom, I don't show up on hers.
It's too dark. That's why. He's too far away and it's too dark. birthdays that's made, the day that the Big John's Tavern
Oh
opened.
my
Like,
gosh. I totally forgot that was his name too. That's insane.
is it? That's why you're here.
That's so cool.
That's why you guys keep me around.
So we have to unscramble these. That would be Charles.
So you have the CHL, right? Did you get the RLE?
LSKJN.
John.
I heard John.
You did?
Yeah, that's the name of the football guy.
Just now or?
Just now. Well, I told him
Kind of
what it was.
lost. Because we need the ARE to make Charles. I'm not going to count anything yet or get too excited until we have that ARE mixed in there.
50.
Cute.
So I want you to also keep in mind that this guy will also do other things. I just don't like all the features, but I'm going to show you what they are. So the next one is going to be yes, no, which obviously you know I hate. And then it's going to go into the numbers, but it doesn't just say
First.
to the bottom letters.
Hmm?
That was an
And then every colonial ghost knows what an emoji is. I hate that. Like, that was so dumb. Why do you even put that in there? Sorry for watching you, by the way. So, not super convinced on the CHLS yet. I want more. The R really
So
makes Charles.
once another letter goes here, will it cycle back through?
It'll cycle back through, but you have to reset it to get a clean slate. Because all it's going to do is overwrite.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the last thing you just heard?
Oh, I don't think.
Oh, okay. Oh, 50.
Oh,
So-
50,
Alright, so
sorry.
should I
Well, it
reset
was
it now?
50,000. It was like 50.
So that's perfect. Whenever you get numbers like 50,000, it doesn't make sense to the space. The number 50 is in the word 50,000. So that's kind of how I look at those things. But that 783, like I'm looking at dates, like is there July of 83 or something along those lines? You see where I'm going with that? Like I look at everything in a different light. But that 50 is very interesting. Any readings coming out of yours at all?
Yes.
What do you got?
I got like 8.6
Okay.
over here by that white one, and then I got a 5 in the corner, and then I think I got like an 18 under that tree,
Nice.
but obviously on this side, and then over by that car I got a 41.
Wow. All right, that's a perfect segue. So I would say stop your cameras because I think you guys are getting the gist of how all this works. Even though I spent all my time with Alicia, I think you guys got it. So let's kind of go over these answers and I'll show you like what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the 41, obviously. So let me put that in layman's terms of things around your
41
house.
on the reader.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the red one.
And I'm watching the red one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were to put that red one behind your television, it's going to read about 40 to 60 milligauss. Like that's how much output your TV puts. Stand next to your microwave is about 150 to 170 when it's running. So it kind of gives you a gist of like what we look for. Again, 18 to 22 is an average spike for this location. That is super high for most other locations. The fact that she got a 41 is very good. However, I will tell you that the highest reading I've ever gotten out of all of my years of doing this has been here, 214 milligauss. That's like putting your head inside the running microwave. For a guy with epilepsy, like we left. So again, I can't play with that much electricity
2.
in the air. You gotta be shitting.
2.
What was 2?
It goes with 50. I was waiting for it.
50.
That was Big John's second number. So his first number was 20. His second number was 52.
Oh my
So she
gosh.
heard 50 earlier, and now she has 2 and the name John. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Like it's all tied.
Oh,
So
she
again,
heard John?
She heard John earlier.
Okay.
So, but back to the EMF readings. Again, that 214, I had to give them the answers later. They didn't even get a chance to spread out like what you guys just did because I don't play with it. The next highest one I saw was at the same.
847. 22.
You heard 22. You're getting all the numbers tonight. Remind me to write those down. Lost my train of thought. Where were we?
Sorry.
We spread out because we had to go.
Oh yeah, because we had to leave. So let's kind of go over the answers. Remind me to write down the number 22. Mute that so you can pay attention and not interrupting. She's got really good stuff and she's getting the gist of it, which is really good. So I'm actually kind of glad I chose you to do that because it's not exactly easy for people my age. We'll just put it that way. So, again, that's kind of actually my expertise, but for people around my age to do that for the first time, they really suck at it. Just kind of putting that out there.
You gotta like listen and also listen and multitask.
3,000.
just tell you to put it on me?
What?
Put it on me.
Oh, I'm
Put it
sorry.
down.
21.2.
Kaylee.
Sorry.
Okay.
I love that
What's
she's
there
focused.
important?
Mute
But
it.
we're going to be here at this location all night if you keep going. So you can kind of get my point of why I'm asking you to mute it. So this is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. I use her maiden name because she's the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. So both Elizas, believe it or not, had a maiden name that started with the letter L. That's why we look for that ELP on the Ouija board, but the first wife's maiden name was Lamb. So Lamb and Lucas have shown up previously on the digital word list that you're also using. So I kind of wait for either one of those. This wife was 22 years old when she married Charles, who was 45. Creepy age gap for me because I'm close to Chuck's age, and my oldest daughter is Eliza's age. So it kind of gives you an idea of why it's so creepy to me. Anybody get anything? Well, we didn't get anything because I know everything that you heard, but what happened to the mansion is the next question. So this is the only photograph of the mansion that we actually have. This is exactly where you're standing right now. This is fire damage from the Great Fire of 1861. This happened on December 11th. If we had fire, burning, blaze, anything relative to a giant fire, we normally get 2 or 3 numbers of the date. So 12, 11, 61. Notice that these are very specific numbers. So again, other tours in town will tell you about a great fire because we've had dozens of them. Let me show you what this fire actually looked like. So this fire, I hate to say mine's the biggest, especially when I have a large
What
group
year
of
was
ladies.
it?
1861.
Okay.
So
Civil War.
right before they hit here. So this is a map of Charleston.
Wow.
You can see that it literally went from coast to coast, like one side to the other. You are standing on that tiny little green dot right there. Like that kind of shows you, like, and why did the mansion not burn all the way to the ground? More materials than just wood. So it kind of gives you an explanation of like why it was still standing. Do I know what happened to it after that? I have no idea. So again, I've researched the property several times. Records get lost, you get it. Children is the thing I move on to next. We already know that there was 4. If somebody's poking the bear about the tragedy, she will answer 3. She is basically telling us, I'm not telling you about what happened to my infant. So let's go through the children very, very quickly. Charles, you already know about, signer of the Constitution, right? So the next child I bring up is Thomas. Thomas fought in a Revolutionary War battle. He was shot in his left leg and captured by the British. So when he was relieved from the British, he was left on a cane the rest of his days from damage from the gunshot wound. Any portrait you're going to find of Thomas after that battle, which is the Battle of Camden, by the way, not too far from here. It's about a 2.5-hour drive to Camden. But anyway, you're going to see him of his right side so he can hide his left leg, and there's a cane over his lap. So kind of keep that in mind. So I am excited about the word revolution, but I want to see if there's something else to go along with it to make sure it's something relevant to him. The next child is Baby George. You can already see where this one's going because of the name. Baby George does not have a grave or headstone. My theory behind this is that during those times, religions would actually allow families to mummify their children and keep them in the home in a tomb waiting for the mother to pass away so he could be buried with her. Kind of a creepy thought all on its own, but it's going to get even more weird when we talk about Eliza's death. One more daughter. And by the way, you can't go home and Google mummied baby and not expect a phone call from the government. These are religious practices if you're really going to dive into how that actually went down. So, only daughter, Harriet. She married Daniel Ory. If you're not from here, Myrtle Beach is Ory County. So that kind of gives you an idea of where her daughter Harriet lived. 2.5 hours north of here. Not a 2.5-hour car ride for Eliza. There's no cars. Lots of letter writing instead. So if we do get Harriet here, which is very seldom, again, know your ghost. Quill, ink, paper, published. You're getting the gist of the kinds of terms that we'll get around Harriet. It's very seldom, maybe once or twice a year. Eliza's death, which were your focus questions. Eliza was 70 years old when she passed away in 1793. First off, that's a long time for a woman to be living. I've seen the eyebrow raise. So again, kudos to you for knowing that. Not many people do. She was going to Philadelphia, getting treatments. Didn't we have the word treatment show up? Treatments for whatever they thought she had. It turned out to be breast cancer. We didn't know what the hell breast cancer was in 1793. We're going based off her medical records. She died in Philly. She's buried in Philly. So 2 questions in the back of your brains.
Baby George is down here still?
Well, there's the first question. If my theory's true, they would have transported him here, from here, all the way there by horse and carriage. Most of us look old enough to remember Oregon Trail. Somebody's getting dysentery. So that's a long trip. Let's move a little bit further back so that car can get out. What'd you get?
Do you want me to unmute it? 'Cause I
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're getting there.
Well, you just tell me when.
I will.
Otherwise,
So the other question in the back of your brain is, if she's up there, what the hell are we doing here? I did a cemetery. level of activity there. No, people don't stare at their graves when they're gone. So they go to their mansions 400 miles away. So that's why I bring you to the spaces that I do. That's why I know the tour comes here. There's nothing to see, except for when you can measure what's going on, especially when we get a fully bump somewhere. So that's a pretty big deal. That means that you probably just missed a few extra things, even though you actually did pretty well with those at the first beginning. And I'm always honest with you guys. Like, this was kind of an average of what I normally expect somebody, like out of a team of what we're using to actually get. Now the cameras, I'm going to have to review it. They don't always follow up with rules in real time, just so you know. Anybody want to take a guess who the president was that was the pallbearer at her funeral? 1793? Nope, close.
Was he the president of?
Oh, look at you guys getting all president on me. It's George Washington. Believe it or not, at his own request, wanted to pay homage to Eliza, her Indigo, to help get her country started. Let's face it, most of the
International business women.
yeah,
Big deal.
exactly. Very big deal. So you guys all know about the George Washington visits to Charleston, right? So like what, 10 years, 13 years, whatever it was. It was a big deal.
I pointed that church out twice to you today, and told you that George Washington visited that church twice
I think
today.
that's specifically like if you
And I
he
told you
visited
planted a
Charleston.
Now, the interesting thing about his visit was he actually, on his way into town, secretly met with Eliza for breakfast to kind of pay his respects to. Well, it was in Georgetown, so it was like on his way in, probably heading down to South Carolina. But you gotta remember,
Was her on the way to see Harriet?
possibly. But it was also his honor. But them two actually knew each other because, let's face it, George only had 13 governors, and there was a king and his uncle. So it's not like he didn't know the family. So let's respect that. Who knows if there was any doubt of if they were actually madly in love with Charles. Like, that was a big thing when it was an actual true love story. That's why I say don't poke the bear in this location. So I think we did pretty well. So thank you, Eliza, for responding. And I don't know if you're realizing this is one of the dozens of times as well. But at the same time, any major questions about things like that? I know this was kind of a weird spot, and I spent a lot of time with Alicia, and she had a lot of questions. But you guys actually did really well, so I'm anxious to get to the next phase. So here's the next phase. We're going to be walking through the market to get over to an alley. So the local, it's Philadelphia alley. It's the dueling story, so kind of keep that in mind. But I tell it a little bit differently because you need details, right? Your ghost hunting. It's not a campfire marshmallow type of story. It is a very popular ghost tour stop. So those of you with cameras, be very discreet. Obviously, this is where the suitcase mentality comes in, and the belly shot is perfect for you. You won't need to keep a person in view because there's plenty of bricks and mortar and foliage and all kinds of things that will help us get a cold spot if needed. So kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, definitely continue listening on our way in. Ignore your readings along the way. Okay, it's not going to mean anything to me. You guys ready? Wow, you guys are like so easy. Like normally I'm like, I got to keep going on and on and on and on. What do you got now?
No, I had on
No.
relevant.
Not necessarily. Give us something here. Again, if I get another name on there, so you never know. Because if we get the name Polly, it shows up. That was actually her sister. Eliza's sister. She they were very close, so she would have been an Aunt Polly. Sorry, I say Aunt from the north. Yeah, not from here. I'm sure you guys can tell by the very quick talking. Where are you from? Okay. 843 is our area code. I'd throw those away. Same thing with anything that says Charleston. Throw it away. I don't need it.
Well, there was 9.
I'll write it down, but I don't know what it means yet. So, all right, cool.
Let's try picking rocks that you can. Nicole,
Always cold.
I heard you weren't cold the other night.
What happened? You were stripping down.
When?
Haley was trying to get to bed. I'm
No.
taking your pants off. I missed that.
So is this what you guys thought you signed up for?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because she kept saying, I'm going to go on a ghost hunt. I'm like, oh,
And I was like, no,
okay.
thanks, I'm
And then
good.
she finally said what the details were. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and we're not dealing with any malevolent anything here tonight.
Right.
So,
Do you do those tours?
what's that?
So do you do malevolent ghost tours? Because that'd be fun.
I'm not going to take the general public to dangerous places. So like that old jail tour that they were doing, I'm not taking them. Like that's just, they don't do them anymore.
500,000.
$50,000.
500 now.
They're rocking up there. A lot of lights in there.
Stuck on verb.
What?
Stuck on verb. It won't go off verb.
Verb?
Verb.
Yeah, we still haven't said a whole lot tonight, man.
Still have what?
The Cameron hasn't said a whole lot yet still.
Oh.
$70.
Get a lot of numbers.
Peter? Peter?
Oh, I knew about George Washington.
Yeah, you can get that camera started in here. Just be discreet because other tours will be coming through here. Who knows? Maybe I'm the only one. I'll tell you, most nights I am sold out. Like I'm taking 10 people out tonight.
Wow.
Like next week is jam full, and that's when it starts, spring break.
So
And
good.
it won't stop until October 31st for me.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
No, that's it.
Job security.
Ooh, the jasmine is blooming already.
Yeah.
Yes, I have one bloom.
How's our
One-
word list
one
coming?
flower.
What do we got going on in there? Anything?
I had Peter.
Who the hell's Peter?
You know, I had Peter and then
Peter,
Catch.
Peter, pumpkin eater.
Catch Peter. They were throwing baseballs.
By the way, that George Washington bit that I gave earlier, I heard you guys talking about it more, and I forgot to tell you, like, there's a reason
think
why.
it's
That's the
loud.
only question that I give you guys back, even though I was giving you all the other answers, is because when we got to that space, I told you guys I'm not going to give you questions like, what color is George Washington's white horse? Subliminally putting George Washington in the back of all your brains, waiting to see who's going to give it back to me, and you couldn't. But that's a good thing. You passed with a fail. So that's what I look for. I don't want somebody that's just going to repeat everything that I'm giving them. So, where are we? For those locals, you already know we're in Philadelphia Alley, but this used to be called Dueler's Alley. So this is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So, by the way, when other tours come through here, because they will cut through like that ivy wall, or they'll be coming from this end, we'll just kind of split the seas, or we'll all kind of group into this little corner over here and let them pass, because they're going to go a lot further. But anyway.
That was a mouse
Bridge.
or a rat.
Yeah, we've been getting some rats down here, unfortunately.
Bridge.
We have a radio station called The Bridge. It shows up all the time, so I'm going to throw that one away too. I think we got a cat though, too. Yep. We got a lot of cats around this area because of the circular church.
Another round.
Because of the what? The circular.
The circular church actually has a lot of cats. They say they chase the devils away out of the cemetery, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very free spirit.
Yes. That's the cat getting the mouse.
Oh, it's not a mouse.
Then that is.
That is
it's
the
the size of
rat.
the
Yeah,
cat.
that's a rat.
Yeah, it's the size of a cat.
Ew, that's disgusting. It's so big.
He'll climb the walls. He won't bug us.
Here's another one.
But anyway, the duels. We all come down here, tell the same story. Again, different details for me. Here's how it goes. Go ahead and mute that, because we can all hear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good.
I can't really hear it very well, so I like
Have to crank it. There's a doctor that moves down here to Charleston from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. By the way, if she hears or we get Brown-Eyed Girl on the radio stations, it's not coincidence. It happens all the time down here because it's part of his name. But anyway, he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. So she has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash that she's got. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. So he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not. After her money, he's going to start his practice down here. And as he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. So it's not a very good start to his stay in Charleston. By the way, I do want the Ouija on, and then your baseline is going to be between 5 to 7 because of the lamp posts. We do get a little surge from those. So yeah, you might want to just scale it back a little bit. But anyway, back to the coach. As the doctor's coming into town, somebody was walking by.
Wait, 5 on the red one.
On 5 on the red one. Somebody was walking by and seeing what was about to happen, how the doctor was about to get robbed and killed. His name is Ralph Isaacs. So I want you to keep in mind he has the same initials as where the doctor came from, which is exactly why I bought the Ouija board device. We were getting the letters RI all the time on a regular spirit box. I wanted to see if we can get it on something a little bit more specific, like letters only, and we have, just so you know, and several times. However, RI is goes to 2 different characters, kind of like the name, Charles before. We need secondary clues. But anyway, Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. I know this guy's going to try to kill you. Come with me to 59 Church Street, and you can rent a room from them. He took him up on the offer. They became friends. Now, the longer the doctor stays here in Charleston, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he's not after Amanda's cash. So Amanda gets wind of this, and she's moving down so they can get married. Dr. Ladd became known as the whistling doctor. I love how you guys are all looking around for rats. I think it's hysterical. I know. But they're not going to bother us, trust me. I mean, if anything, they're going to go right across the wall. They won't come near us.
They won't jump on it.
Yeah. So, the whistling doctor. Every haunted city you're ever going to visit in the future has a cliched whistling ghost. I'm going to just put it out there. We all have one. However, there is proof of this one, and I'm going to get to that. Ralph and the doctor go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. He gets better seats. That's just the way the hierarchy works. So they're walking home one day after seeing Richard III, and they're arguing over the new actress. Dr. Ladd thought she was great. Ralph didn't. The argument turns into insults on the doctor's fiancée from Ralph. So it gets very ugly, and they go their separate ways. I told you Ralph has friends here. He goes to his friends at the newspaper, and by the way, I'm trying to rush this so we can get away from the rats. And again, this isn't a place where we're going to spread out anyway. I'm going to explain. But anyway, the newspaper that he puts an ad in basically tells the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a disgrace to society kind of mentality. The doctor saw the ad, rebuttal lit, let's go to Doolittle Alley, we're going to settle this. So they come down, they flip their 10 cases, they turn, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot his one shot. He didn't want to kill his wife.
Why can't we?
Right, exactly. Often what happens, you just point your gun in the air and say, I'm game. Just gonna go back in the ivy, it'll be fine. Yeah, or go find his friend across the way. Anyway, Ralph has his one bullet. He puts it in the kneecap of the doctor. So he didn't die either. He drops to the ground, his friends pick him up, tip him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later. Now, it's always the same day, but every version of the story says 4 days, some say 10 days. But he also refused medical treatment, which remember that he is a doctor. He bleed out the bullet wound himself. Different bullet wounds in 1786 than what we have today. So the date is always the same of when he died, November 2nd of 1786. So you heard the number 70 along the way here. I will tell you that part of that is part of his birthday, but it has to come up in another form. So I'll explain more if it comes up again. Now, we're not going to spread out here because I'm just here to stir shit up and not the mice. So we can
They are really stirred up.
They are. So we can actually go over to the next space and get the bleed over. However, the bleed over of the next space, again, I'm going to tell you why we're going there here. I've been kicked out of this alley, just so you know. I would normally take my groups all the way through when I first started doing this, because this alley didn't always go all the way through. It was cut off by halfway. That's because this is where they kept the livestock, not the rats. But anyway, those bricks on that side are older than the bricks on this side. So those are sun-dried bricks from slave children. So there's a full handprint from a slave child down there, and everybody used to stop with the equipment waiting for something to happen. A kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. Treat it the same way I do a grave. However, November 26th of 2020, my entire group of 10 is huddled around that brick, waiting. I'm trying to shoo them along because it's also outside the kitchen of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. I'm just trying to be respectful, not knowing I was out of bounds. So again, new at this 4 years ago. So it's kind of all right, the new owner came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. She was on the tour that night, and we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't tour Thanksgiving because I worked in retail management, mainly for Walmart. You adults can feel my pain. However, the next day, and these dates are relevant, the 28th, I actually talked to my partner at the time, and I told him what happened. He said, you can only go down halfway, or you got to reroute. So I decided that night I'm going to reroute, but I told my team I don't believe in the next story. I've never had anything happen there, and I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. So we're going to talk about pirates and see what we can get out of it. Before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box. I didn't tell them who we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I'm like, shit. We get down there, somebody else heard the number 300. I don't know what that means. I write it down, research it the next day. We were there on November 28th, 2020, Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th, 1720. The exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial.
Wow.
So I went, damn it, now I got to learn about pirates. So the interesting thing about pirates is that it's based off of lore. So it's very hard to get a hold of captain logs and those kind of things, but I will tell you that half my library now is based on pirates.
Fun.
So everything we're going to be discussing at the next location came out of a minimum of 2 resources. So kind of keep that in mind. Master's degree in creative writing, I can piece it together. So I will tell you when things are like a little hairy about like the numbers and skewed, but it is also a hit or miss location. It may not be as active as what we had at the Pinckney Mansion site. Anne is said to be seen all over town, but we do get bleed over from this location. So again, we're going to be directly across the street. We just kind of have to go around. I can't take you through the gate. But that's why I can't take you all the way through, because we're not allowed to go down there. So I haven't been going down there ever since, and I've been researching pirates ever since 2020. So again, all of the books, movies, documentaries, video games, and all the shit I have to learn. Again, yes, I said video games because yes, I'll play a game with pirates in it just to get a different version of the story. So, have you heard anything? I know I told you to mute it.
No.
Okay. Any other words showing up on your word list? I'm trying to get us away from the rats. Anything else
No.
that you think is relevant? Remember, I'm withholding information.
Ongoing, push, reality, derive, method, Peter, catch.
Peter's interesting. I don't know who the hell that is. All right, let's learn about crazy pirates. For those of you with video cameras, if you want to keep them going, you're just going to be discreet because we're getting in another popular ghost tour area, so kind of keep that in mind. And then I'll explain the pirate story. Worst case scenario, you're going to learn a lot of shit about pirates you didn't know before. And then hopefully we capture a few things while we're there. All right, let's go learn about Anne Bonny. Let's do this.
Can I turn my thing?
You can. Yeah.
Telescope.
Telescope.
Pirate telescope.
That's more like an eyeglass.
Do you want me to stop it or keep it going?
You can keep it going.
Okay.
I would think eyeglass would be a little bit more relevant than telescope.
Treasure.
Really hope the rat infestation kind of goes away. 6. Get a lot of numbers. The number 6.
Oh my god.
Scared me up here. Bless you. Holy mackerel. Need my Geiger counter for those. I usually normally run in a bunch of tours around here because there's 15 different spots around here.
Huh. How long have you been doing this?
The tour's almost 4 years, but ghost hunting about 11. So I'd say a pretty decent amount of time.
those?
That's interesting. See, that's a weird phrase. I don't know what that means. That's cool shit. Got to be here on a full moon. It sits right next to the steeple.
Yeah. Well,
Depending on which full moon.
Hotel California.
Hotel California. Remember, weird states that aren't from here. And then I collect them. That's what she heard. That's very weird. Like, that's a weird phrase.
Literature?
The California thing is interesting. It's somewhat relevant. I'm actually going to move us a little bit further back because other ghost tours like this kind of cut through here. I don't know what's going on with the dam. Yeah, it looks like. So we'll kind of stop here. This will work. Again, the other ghost tours love to cut through here to go to the church. I'd stopped going up to the church because it's always good to get there for me. And again, they have large groups of 20. If you weren't aware, like, we're allowed to take 20 people. Like, I just looked through it. The bag's heavy enough. Not to mention, nobody wants to follow one guy on a ghost hunt. This is a perfect size, 5 to 10 people. Anyway, we're going to be discussing that little tiny building over there with the crosses on it. Those aren't crosses, by the way. If you're not from here, those are earthquake bolts. If you're not familiar with earthquake bolts, they're basically turnbuckles. They say you can turn them after an earthquake, and it's supposed to tighten up the building so it doesn't incur any further damage. That's the purpose of an earthquake bolt. Now,
Same as the squares in
right,
there?
exactly. So we still put them in because it's part of our crazy Charleston charm. They look like pineapples and lion heads and all kinds of shit. Now, the crazy thing about earthquake bolts, they don't actually work. So the reason I bring this up is because that set on that little tiny building, that's the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston ever put in. The reason why is because that's the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713.
Magazine?
What's that?
Got the magazine.
Powder Magazine, right. So we're here because this is what I call a familiar. You guys all watch the TV shows where they use a teddy bear to attract a child ghost? It's the same principle. This building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny came here to start her new life. So let's get into it. Young lady, by the way, you're going to have to follow me on this one. There's a lot of twists because it is pirates, and it's a female badass pirate.
Ooh.
So, 1708, by the way, that building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government at all? Yeah, from 1703 to 1713. But 1708, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormac. She comes here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Are you with me so far? Okay, the three of them are running away from her father's angry wife. How pissed was she that they got to leave the country by boat to come here? They land in Georgetown, that's just north of here, for those of you not from here. Dad bought a plantation, but Mom died pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat and to promote the building. Again, Anne is said to be seen all over town, because they don't have any buildings around this area. But anyway, take a step backwards to Ireland. They say Anne was a badass even back then. When Anne was 7, 8, 9 years old, remember it's pirate lore, every version is different, they say she killed a servant with a knife to the belly. We have had the terms servant, knife, and belly all in the same game. So, fast forward, 1713, the building's done. By 1715, pirates are coming through Charlestown, and Anne is pretty stoked. Why? She's going to fall in love, so she can earn her freedom, just like a man. And it worked. The first guy she falls in love with, and yes, I said first, because there's a handful, and we're going to go through every single one of them. First guy is James Bonny. You already see where this one's going, right? Because you know her pirate name. Dad didn't approve, they ran away to Jamaica, got married, and Cormac is now Anne Bonny, famous female pirate. However, James Bonny is not Captain Jack Sparrow, like what she was hoping for. This guy turns out to be a privateer. He's a spy. He's British. This is not who she wanted. He's a coward. So she falls in love again with guy number 2, John Rackett, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is the guy they based your Johnny Depp character off of, if you're unfamiliar. So, this is the guy she wants. He has his own crew and a ship, and she wants to be part of the crew. You can't put a girl on a pirate ship. Does anybody know why? Keep it family friendly. It's bad luck. So, I get a lot of different answers to that, but it's also like, make sure you guys are, yeah. So, but anyway, he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and look like the crew, you can be part of the crew. But you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to hide her away from his wife. So she gets it. Let's do this. But while adults here, let's put 2 and 2 together. So she's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a girl. So then they're going to vote Jack off the ship. So he drops her off in Cuba. Have the baby. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She goes and has a baby, but returns with no baby. Very sad that I can't find any research that tell me what happens to the child. She comes back with a female. everybody's going to know he let a girl on the ship. And while she was away giving birth, he captured another pirate crew that's down below deck, and Anne's going to go flirting because that's who Anne is. So, guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack captured. So now we have 2 females on the same ship trying to be pirates. Her name is Mary Reed. I already mentioned her name earlier tonight. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate, so either name has come up in the past. So her and Mary became friends, possibly lovers, but I don't really know for sure. But the British found out where they are. They send a full fleet of ships to take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary rumor that they were the only 2 pirates that weren't drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks, probably because they didn't know how to use the cannon. They weren't pirates for very long. Obviously, 2 ladies with flintlocks are not going to take on a whole fleet of ships. They get arrested. As she's being arrested, she's looking at her Captain Beau, Calico Jack, and says, "I'm sorry to see you here, but if you would have fought like a man, you wouldn't have to be hanged like a dog." The word dog comes up a lot. We've even had people report dogs barking on a spirit box as we enter the space. So we're kind of keep that. The judge wants to see the 2 quote-unquote men that fought back so valiantly.
Sorry, that's probably not relevant.
No. So the 2 men, Calico Jack and the drunk pirates, were already tried and hung, so they're dead and gone. The 2 ladies go in front, reveal their gender, openly say themselves. The judge doesn't give a shit. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. We plead our bellies. It was the last thing we shouted at him. You cannot hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal.
So they're both pregnant?
Right. Allegedly. So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still up here in South Carolina with all of his Irish money. He was an attorney back home. So he bails her out, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4. We don't know who the actual husband is, and we are going to count Mary Reed as a lover. So, with that said, she had 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Again, we don't know much about her after her pirate career because it is, basically a big rumor. Some say she stayed here, others say she went to Virginia. Mary Reed died a year later in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in Jamaican jail. Use your imaginations. Most folks would say that it was, something simple.
98.
Yes, that was the year Anne was born, 1698. Allegedly. Okay, I was looking at her death at first, and I was like, no, but the year of her birth makes sense, so I'm going to write down 98. The only 2 questions I left out of here, by the way, for Spirit Box work, because you guys know what the hell you're doing by now. By the way, this is also not a prominent English woman. I know you're a ghost. We can poke the bear a little bit here. She's a pirate. But I left out the name of her parents. That's the father and the mistress. I do know them, but I left them out purposely so he has something to work with. I also left out the name of Calico Jack's ship. So I left that out purposely, again, so he had something to work with. Anything else, again, the baby question, I can't prove it. If you get answers, I can't prove that they're actually valid. Anything else, you want to ask about her hair color, you want to ask what her father's name was, what city she came from, anything of those that I can actually prove, go for it. Again, I have enough books to be able to debunk or prove a lot of things. But yeah, 98 is definitely a relevant number. She's giving me a lot of numbers tonight, and I don't know if that's what she's searching for, but you just got to let things happen. So again, you're going to hear weird things like the I collect those. That's an interesting piece. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm hoping that something else is going to be worthless, but
There's a whole lot of words coming through right now.
Give them to her. What do you got?
Deal, they all just go through. Deal, flood, wave, McKenna.
So I get like ocean terms showing up here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I've seen that here in the past.
Eliza?
Eliza?
Do you want to know why that's relevant here? Again, there's like 15 stories around this corner. So Charles, the husband, is buried across the street, as is the first wife, Eliza Lamb. So at times, he will either give us a lot of clues about Eliza Lucas, like blue, guy, all of the things relevant around her, or Eliza herself, the first one, will be coming through. Again, there's a lot of things that go on in the street. That's why I have a vice president buried on the other side of this wall, and it is March. We're getting close to his birthday.
Are we at the circular church?
No, Circular Church is one block that way, but
Okay.
John Calhoun is buried on the western end of St. Philip's. So Charles Pinckney is actually buried on the eastern side. Only native Charlestonians can be buried on that side. That's why John Calhoun is over here. So they actually moved him. I'm sure you guys knew this from other tours. They actually moved his sarcophagus several times, trying to figure out where the hell he was supposed to go.
Right,
He's not
like
from
back
here.
and forth and back and forth, right? Yeah.
They say, and the joke is that he crossed, Church Street more times in death than he did in life.
Huh.
So again, every ghost tour tells that story. It's another reason why I don't go over there, because nobody's talking about Anne Bonny anymore at this location, and I keep getting more and more clues around it. So the Eliza piece is somewhat relevant. I'm going to put a question mark on it so I can focus on your recording and see if I find something else. But It's just weird that you're getting wave and flood. You know, if I had sail, like I would be a little bit more convinced. If I had, there's other Blackbeard things around here. I mean, we were talking pirates, you know, around this morning. Comes another tourist. We're gonna keep that in mind when we are filming. The interesting thing about where you've got that camera pointed, unfortunately, there's a truck parked right in front of it. I get a lot of psychics on this, and I've had 3 psychics so far tell me in the past, I'll say 2 years, the same description of a soldier standing right next to the powder magazine, wearing blue pants and a white shirt. So it's another reason why I got that SLS camera, the stick figure, so we can kind of see if we have something going on. But yeah, we're going to definitely spend a little bit of time in here. So again, keep your cameras running. You know, you guys have been doing really good about starting and stopping. I've been paying attention. Any other letters showing up over there?
T.
Just T.
Now these aren't really making much sense.
Yeah. That didn't even give us a letter.
No.
It made the noise, but no letter. Interesting. As far as yours, Nicole, I would expect readings back here I'd be excited about, but the closer you get up there, we have 2 electrical poles, plus the mirrors on the other side. So you might get that 3 to 7. If you get the 3 to 7 back here, I'd be a little bit more excited. So just kind of keep that in mind.
No one escapes.
Again.
I like it. That's a good one. It's almost like the Get Out you heard earlier. It's definitely a tropey paranormal thing. No one
Can I hear
escape.
what it sounds like?
It's just like random songs.
Okay.
A lot of static.
Keep in mind, we're going to get bleed over from the duel, too. So
So I
again,
just look for cold spots too.
look, your camera loves to act up in here, so just kind of keep an eye on it. If you start
Kind
getting
of
like
annoying.
white wavy lines, almost like old style static, just let me know, because that means we have something else going on. What I've seen in the past is if it does that, that means somebody's device is going to stop, like shut down. So I've seen it
Like
2 or
that
3
right there?
times.
No.
No, it would almost look like the old snow from your old TV sets.
Oh, yeah.
It would almost look like that. It's
So
really
look for
weird.
that.
I would look for that. Obviously, any cold spots. Just
So
be
it's
mindful
just
of the other
running through
tourists.
every
You've been
radio
really good about it. Might have to give you kids a job later. She's actually really good at this. So the 7s. There's a lot of 7s that go on with this one. So the interesting thing is 7 on the way to Philadelphia. Dr. Lad's birthday is July 7th. 7/7. So there's a lot of 7s. That one's another 7. So you gave me 70 and 7. I'm somewhat convinced that it could be something with Dr. Lad, but the 7th vice president is buried over there, and the powder magazine served in 7 different rooms. So again, we do get a lot of 7s. I need the other 2. I know a couple 7s on the 7.
You get anything over here? You see something?
I can't tell if it was a tree or a stick figure over here.
I just got no, and I just got chills.
Did you feel weird over there?
I got no. Just no. Not really.
Yeah, I don't really see anything over here.
Hate.
8?
Hate.
Where is it? Hate? here. It's this thing over here. I can show you the sign.
Hey, Eliza, maybe we should sit down for tea. I was almost like, I mean, we were pretty far away from you.
Yeah.
So again, it's weird that you have a
I went to
date.
lock the room after
Yeah.
that.
That's interesting.
Date and date.
Interaction.
The date piece is interesting because it's almost like if the date is going to be hidden somewhere in what she's got going on. So, anything crazy going on with yours? I want to get to see if she's got. Nicole, you got any readings?
Foot. Foot and crutch.
I don't know, but those are very specific, aren't they?
Foot of the crutch, or just foot and crutch.
I'm just gonna take foot and crutch and kind of see what I can make
No,
out
the
of
only
that.
time I was like,
I'm
I
having
was up there and I figured I was close to the lights.
By the way, you know you've been on a cheesy tour if they clap at the end.
Yay! For a week.
Crutches for a week.
That's interesting. Because again, we have Calhoun's on the other side of the wall. We've got all kinds of things around here. I mean, I investigate, like I research pretty deep if I don't know it off the top of my head.
Help.
What is it? Do you have Sophia? It's spelled out.
All of it except for
Yeah. Well, he hasn't finished it.
So you have Sofa.
S-O-P-H.
PH. It's a little too new, I think. The name Sophia, what's weird is we get that a lot at the Pinckney Mansion site, and I've been researching that name relative to the Pinckney. I can't find any relation. But we are next to a cemetery, so it's not like I can't do the cemetery records. Alright, so you don't have anything, nothing super relevant coming out of you, nothing came out of yours. Oh, you gave me 98, I forgot to write the song and the bell. 98. 98 is good. Yeah, I got foot and crutch. So, let's go over the answers, and then I gotta explain the next stop before we get there, because it's a lot different than what we've been doing. So let's head over to this wall. So try to clean this up a little bit.
Whatever was there is gone now.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, at least it's recorded. It's recording, right?
You getting anything? Can I see
Keep
it?
in mind, those trees are going to give you a lot of false
Have you gotten
anomalies.
like anything?
Are we staying here for a second?
For a minute.
Okay.
Just like this going
Oh
on.
my gosh, you missed it. I heard like the clearest like
All right,
dong
let's go over
of a
these answers
bell.
real quick and kind of
Every
wrap this
bell
location
rang.
up. Again,
It was
I'm
on-
excited, but not like super
said it's
stoked.
for the
The number
Ocean.
you and the
Water stuff.
yeah, like that's crazy. So this is one of the few pictures you can find of Anne Bonny with a shirt on, because she used to basically bare her breast to show men that they were just killed by a woman. I told you, she was a badass back then. Bless you.
Bless you.
So the names of her parents were William, Cormac, Mary Brennan. The interesting thing about William and Mary, and it wasn't another subliminal trick, I promise, it just happens we have two Marys in the story. The same person, because keep in mind, I use like 5 different spirit boxes. We only have one of them on tonight. The person using that will normally hear the phrase William and Mary together, and it usually comes from one person. So again, you have to look at your surroundings and like what's actually happening. So I'd also like to show you what Calico Jack looked like. Everybody wants to see what Johnny Depp was based off of. So this guy was named Calico Jack because of the jackets that he wore.
That's not what Johnny did.
This is his character though. His father was a tailor, so textiles were important. The jackets he wore came from British captains that he killed. Calico Jack basically translates to fancy jacket. That's where it comes from. So the name of his ship was called the Kingston. Another instance of mixing our tech with what we're dealing with here. I'm not expecting Kingston to come through on her spirit box. The word king would actually suffice in this location, just based on the English that we use versus the English that they used. So kind of keep that in mind. We're not going to get Kingston. And if we do, I mean, there's a few Kingston cities in the United States, but we're not going to hear that here. So I'd also like to tell you that this is another space where I give that heated warning at the beginning of the tour. And we already kind of talked about like a little bit of the heaviness of chest and that kind of thing. But a year ago, this past September, I brought my group to the back, 8, 9, 10 people, I don't remember how many. But the kid next to me, I say kid, he was probably 21, 22 years old, started to drop, like white as a ghost, ready to faint. like dropping like a wet noodle. I had to pick him up by his armpit, like literally, to stop him from hitting his head on the ground. His boyfriend picked him up from the other side of him, and we brought him over here, got him a bottle of water, and started feeling better. So, and then told the story of Anne Bonny, the same one I told you, and then this used to be my last stop. And I would say, all right guys, we'll spread around, we'll find all your ghosts from like reading the stories, let's do this. Grand finale. Then two guys pull me aside and say, Nick, we have to tell you, we are two transgender males. And two females dressed like males on the tour, just like Anne and Mary in the story. And it made complete sense as to why one of them passed out when we entered the space. Again, I get a lot of people that can't even enter the space at all. They get heart palpitations, massive headaches. Like, they can't come in at all. So, again, not a whole lot of high EMF scans. So, again, I don't know what's causing it. Very interesting space. The next space we're going to go to is our last stop, just so you know. We're going to be experimenting with something a little bit new with Kaylee. And I will tell you that Nicole and Kaylee are not going to know the history of this location. We're going to be using the Estes method. In essence, I'm going to be doing a sensory deprivation test and blindfolding and giving her noise-canceling headphones. And without knowing the history of the location, we're going to be asking her questions as if she's the ghost that we're hunting down. And hopefully she will answer. It's either super successful or super dud. I will tell you also the ghost that we're about to go look for is very talented. So if there's a lot of people in there from other tours, we may not get anything at all, even if we weren't doing the Estes method. So the Estes method is a lot of fun. Again, it's very interesting to see. I just started doing this maybe a month ago. I only do it with groups of 4 or more because I need 2 people to sit like away from it. So if it's just a couple that night, I'm not going to do it. So we just kind of investigate with our normal tools. So you're fortunate enough to have a whole party of 5. So look at you. So it is a lot of fun. Have you guys ever heard of this method before? Mm-hmm. Really?
Heard of what?
The Estes method.
Mm-hmm.
Like where they watch, and they do it on the TV shows and the YouTube videos. Like it's a big thing right now. So
really?
Yeah. So I found a way that we can actually do it safely, and in a space where it's a safe ghost. Now it is a bloody author that we're going to be discussing. It is kind of a creepy story, and it's a great creepy story to end with. And again, we're not going to be telling the same piece of history in the space that we're at. We're going to be going to Washington Park. So if you're not familiar with that, we're about 2.5 blocks from there. So there's a little bit of a hike. For those of you with video, again, it's really no point in, we're going to be walking by the circular church. If you want to get footage along the way, that's great, but I'm not going to stop my pace. So I'm just going to keep going so we can get to Kaylee's little experiment, because she's really good at the spirit box thing. I think this is going to be good, as long as there's not a whole lot of other tours in there. Again, you know the drill. Don't ignore your readings, but definitely, like, you are super focused too, Ashley. Like, I love it. Like, you're like all over this. She hasn't looked at me all night because she's got screens in front of her. But yeah, you can stop your videos, and we'll see what we get when we get up to Washington Park. Any other? So
The barking.
Yeah, is Anne following us over here?
So we might just put this in the...
Yeah, and we won't do any of that. I just want to kind of give you a feel, so you have a feel for it. So with these, like, they literally, there's a little bit of pressure to them because they're brand new. So they don't use the thing for like the same. So it's not the same type of needles. But again, when she's got some, I wanted to kind of feel how they move. So that edge of the line. So set those down as well. And we'll take these for a little bit of dust, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. You guys sit here and chill. All right, you guys, come on over this way. This actually works out really well when I have a group this size. So, in a nutshell, this is a new space for me. I don't know everything about the guy we're going to be investigating, which is the fun part. The SLS camera has given us probably the most out of this location. Yeah, like lots of fun stuff. I'll explain. But first time I came here, I just had a couple. I'm like, you're going to experiment because I change this up every year. So we came in, look around. There's a million monuments. We didn't know what we were going to find. 1828 was something specific that came through a spirit box that they heard. We caught it, basically verified it, and then we named Tim. So they're like, okay, this is Henry Timrod, born in 1828. That's who this bust was on. He is a writer. So let's go through his very brief history of what I know. So obviously, being a writer, being born in 1828, he's old enough to fight in the Civil War. He wants to go fight for the Confederates. So he goes out to war, but his friends realize he's too sick to fight. He's sick through most of his life. They sent him home, and they said, go be the voice of the war. So go write about what's going on here in the battle. So he comes home, starts writing poetry, and gets a job with newspapers. So a few years after he comes home, oh, by the way, he became known as the laureate of the Confederacy, the best writer writers, like that's a prestigious title to have. He has a son. So we're going to find out for Haley the name of the son, when he was born, and how long he lived, which his name was Willie, and he was born on Christmas Eve, and he only lived for 9 months. So he died on October 23rd. As Henry's mourning, a few years go by, and his buddy realizes he's not writing as much as he used to, so he calls him up basically by letter and says, why don't you come out to my cottage, and you can continue writing out here, finish up what you're supposed to be doing. So he leaves the wife behind, her name is Katie, by the way, with her parents, and he goes out to the cottage. He writes his last words. His last words were beholder of brief mortality, which translates to person of short life. And then he coughs, and it lands on the page in a blood stain. The blood stain, he had tuberculosis, by the way, in case you didn't catch on to that. The blood stain looks like a man writer over his desk. Now, they call this the blood book. They show it one day a year at the Charleston Library Society on Halloween only.
That's cool.
You have to be a member of the society to be able to see it, but the internet is beautiful. I'm going to show you what the blood book looks like, and then we're going to go get to work with Haley. So, Henry is a very shy, timid guy. He's pretty short. He has a very distinctive mustache as well. So I might be trying to get out of him what he would look like. So, where is it?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can see the blood stain. Looks like, and to me as a writer, beholder of brief mortality, he coughs and he dies right on the page, and that's what we get. Like, that's kind of creepy to end up with. So he was only 38 years old when he passed away.
38.
So 38 is a specific number as well. Now, let's go over to Kaylee, and I'll kind of explain this a little bit further before we kind of get this party started, because I do time it of how much time she's under. Again, this can be a little much for people that haven't done it before. So.
You getting anything?
I don't think so. Are you getting anything?
Yeah, me. I almost like walked her.
All right, take this blindfold off for me for a second. We're going to explain this a little bit further. All right, so in a sense, we're going to be doing a sensory deprivation. We are going to huddle in pretty close.
3. The number.
I think it's the first time we had a digit, yeah. Like an actual numeral.
Do you want to sit?
Here. No, sit here.
No, sit.
No, I want to stretch my legs out.
So I can move my bag. So you can
Nope.
sit here. I get it. But we're going to kind of huddle in and kind of stay close to her because it doesn't look good when I'm blindfolding children in public. That's the point of that. But even when we're done, I'm going to keep you under for about 10 minutes. Keep an eye on your breathing and making sure you're not heaving, kind of thing. I'm also going to be looking at your hands to kind of make sure you're not shaking your hand or shaking.
What did I do?
Snap it because it's an iPad. That'd be great. When I bought this, my wife has been having a field day because she's like, we have to have Perfect. The reason why I use green is because the infrared camera that I use is purple. So that way you guys know your difference. But anyway, once we're done, I'm going to keep you in for about 10 minutes. You're going to stay seated. You're going to be a little disoriented. The vision's going to have to get used to the lighting again. That whole kind of. Now, I also want you to keep in mind, we can hear you whisper. You don't need to shout because of that kind of mentality. Most people immediately want to shout because they can't hear themselves. Okay, just whisper. We got you. I'm going to be asking you questions as if you were the person we're trying to talk to. I'm not going to, you're not payable to me once you put this stuff down. So kind of keep that in mind. So you don't know the history either, so when these three go a little bit like, oh my god, you're going to realize it's a big deal. I'll give you the history after you come to and get you out of this. So again, when I hand these to you, all you got to do is pull them apart, and when you go over, you pull down.
I missed that part.
It's okay.
All right.
Everybody does.
Can I put this on?
Yeah, that one goes on first. Then earbuds.
I just
And then you're going to outstretch your hands so I can put the headphones.
What? Put the earbuds in.
Put the earbuds in?
Yeah.
I'm trying to hide the fact that we're blindfolding a child and you two sit down.
You want me to stand up?
You're good.
We'll stand up.
It's okay. Let's just say I don't have a lot of friends in this industry, so when people are walking by and like, oh shit, what's he got to do now?
Homeless.
Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
What is it? Homeless?
We normally have a homeless guy. He's normally sleeping on the lawn over there.
He probably is. What does it say?
It says homeless, and he said there's usually a homeless guy here sleeping.
Okay, so again, I'm going to be watching my watch.
This is it, right?
10:56. I don't normally look at time except for when we're doing this. So we're going to keep her under for about 10 minutes unless, of course, things get a little too much. So we're going to give her a few minutes, or at least a minute to get acclimated. The person we're addressing Nicole, just so you know, his name is Henry. So I'm going to refer to Haley as Henry.
We're in Bird Box.
Time to start asking questions like what I normally do. So why don't you told me one word earlier about what your job was. So what is your job? What did you do for a living? Henry. Again, you have to look at the situation too. Like right now, she isn't saying it. And I've had double blind sessions where I've had two people on there at the same time, and it's like they have a conversation. It's crazy. Maybe she doesn't know she's supposed to tell us what she is. That's happened in the past. Go ahead and tap her out for me.
What?
You're supposed to tell us what you hear.
I know. I'm listening.
Okay. And that's happened before. People don't realize like they're supposed to tell us. They just listen. They're sitting there like, you guys tell us what's going on. Henry.
6.
I also won't take notes here, so I'll be on the audio. What is the number 6? What does that mean?
Don't do it.
Don't do what? We want to talk to you. There's not many people in here tonight. What's wrong with your head? You haven't told us about head pain before. You told us about chest pains. Why did you have chest pains? I am ready. Waiting for you to tell me again. Tell us about your chest pain. Why did you have it? Can you tell us what you're hearing right now? Remember I told you about the bell bells? Normally we're here at the same time as this. And I've gotten where somebody's heard bells and this person said bells. What about that? What did you hear just a minute ago? What came out of the church?
That
No.
was just wrong.
I just got the chills.
Is anybody counting the bells?
No.
6, 7. Tell us what you did for your job.
Thank you.
I didn't read any of your poetry tonight. Normally I'll read a stanza. Tell me one of the words from your poem Charleston. What's the last line? Give us a word from the last line. That last line is the triumph or the tomb, if anybody was wondering. Triumph and tomb have both shown up here in the past.
Listen to our body. Don't stop.
What kind of sickness did you have? Let's change gears a little bit. Tell us
Just your body.
Tell us about the signature. Maybe you want to tell us the name of your college friend where you went to this cottage. What was
Around.
What was the name of your college friend? He was also a writer.
Victory.
It's been under for 5 minutes, just so everybody else.
Girl.
You didn't have a girl, you had a son. Do you want to tell us your son's name? Notice how our breathing's going on.
Heart. Truck.
What was your son's name?
Stairs. Eyes. Body.
Yeah.
Do you have anything coming up on the...
Aaron.
Notice how her talking stopped when we started. Yeah, just a weird thing that I noticed about her surroundings.
Frank.
If I'm gonna read.
What are you gonna read? Read us your poem, Charles.
Biggest. All my friends want.
What was your friend's name?
0.
What was your friend's name? It wasn't Frank, in case you were wondering. It's Paul.
Legal. Victoria.
Well, these I don't write down, but like Victoria will stand out. Obviously, the name Frank, I'm going to look into.
I can't stay.
Where can you go? We're not going to stay long either. We're going to stay about another minute.
I can't.
Give us one more message. Really prove that you're here. Give us something specific about you.
Music.
It's weird that she's answering. Something specific about you, Henry. What are you known for? Alright, Henry, I'm going to tap her out in 3. We'll get ready to tap her out. Get ready to tap her out when I say 1. 3, 2, 1.
What?
You can come out now.
Okay.
So she was under about 9 minutes. Sorry, I normally give them the warning about the tap out.
Really? Why? Remember she said the bell? And some other time.
Oh my goodness. They're watery.
So when we started talking about his disease, they did get the word hurt. So I was pretty happy with that, considering it was on point. The bell dongs was on point. We were asking what Henry was hearing at the point, at that point in time, and the church bells were going. So we did have that. You gave us Victoria. I don't know who Victoria is, so I'm going to definitely dive into that name. Again, there's a lot of memorials around here. And again, I'm starting to learn more and more about each individual one, because again, sometimes things pop up around the other ones, especially Andrew Jackson's mother over there. And then we have a Marguerite Volk over there in the corner. And of course, you got Washington right there next to that. I've been reading a lot of articles lately, just trying to get a basic gist of all of these different monuments. I would say this was slightly successful, just because I felt like the conversation was there, but we were missing what was actually there. So of course the cool thing is that it's on recording. So I'm going to spot check it and I focus. I give it a little bit more attention than I do the rest of it, just because I wasn't writing things down. But how do you feel? Are you okay?
I feel fine.
Like you kind of had a couple heavy chest moments where you were, taking some deep breaths and a little bit of heaving.
My mouth is shaking.
So again, it's not easy to do. A lot of people can't get the gist of the spirit box from just the basics of what we did around town, and then we come here. Like, that's pretty extreme. Normally, you would put that on the fastest mode, so you mainly have just static. So that way, if they do hear something, it's on point. The first time I ever did it, I was with 2 other teams at the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and they actually had to tap me out after 25 minutes because I listened to those every day. So again, to me, they come. I mean, and I went through the recording and wrote down everything, and everything I said was relevant to stories that they weren't telling. So it was very weird. So it was almost like, stop telling the ghost stories from TV and pay attention to us. They were 2 different people that were coming through. Just very interesting. I didn't have a blindfold at the time either. I came up with the idea for the disposables because I was like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. It's just the way you're supposed to do it. But I'm glad you're not disoriented now. Like your eye contact is good, so I do keep an eye on those things. I'm not a doctor by any means, but I don't want you to get up and fall over kind of thing, because you will get shaky doing that. So the story, just so you guys know, author basically died of tuberculosis. He wrote his last words at his friend's cottage in Colombia, and he coughed on the page, and it turned out to be a blood stain that looks like a man writing over a desk. So they call it the blood book. So we do get somebody, when I did that double blind, them 2 guys sitting here didn't know the story. One of the first things they popped out with was tuberculosis. It's kind of like, oh shit, okay, we got something. So that was an interesting night. Right?
But you were saying like hurt and body and...
Yeah, you said body a couple times. And again, I don't know who that Victoria is.
You alright?
It's going to take her a minute to get, oriented again.
Yeah.
She might actually have to move around to get her blood moving. Because, being so still and taking out 2 senses, yeah, can be a lot. I have had 12-year-old girls sitting here in that same position, and they came out just fine. That's why when I asked her how old she was, back at the Powder magazine, she and I talked about this, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I want to do that. Blindfold me up." I'm like, well, it's not always great when I tell the mom, "I'm going to blindfold your kid, and we're going to see what happens."
That was great.
She is guilty.
But I wasn't saying super interesting.
She is guilty. 3 words in one.
I normally get a "he is guilty."
She is guilty.
But that's a lot of things wrapped around Anne Bonny's stuff. It's very weird. So I would say if you want to take a quick lap around here to kind of get some footage, by all means do so. But after that, I'll let you guys kind of wander around and see what else you guys are getting, and then we'll wrap up over here. So
Get your blood flowing.
yeah, get your blood moving.
You want to walk?
Yeah. I know you're gonna pull.
Bear.
It says bear,
Bear.
and now you're getting something else. Crystal.
Are you alright?
You need to move around.
Mama bear.
Mama bear.
mind holding that for a minute?
Which one?
This one. Thank you.
A few weeks ago, that tree we actually had leaned up against it, but like sitting down, like reading a book, knees up, arms up, like the whole night. And then one leg kept moving around. It was very interesting, and I caught a picture over by that post. That was last week.
I just got a 5.
Yeah. So, damn it. I'll explain that one when everybody gets over here because that one is definitely 5. No, that is an address that we already talked about.
Oh my god.
Hang on. Let me write down this 5 grand. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, so what it's doing is it's picking up the tree in the background. And the lamppost next to it, and then it's seeing the little branches up here. So it's always going to attempt to try to make a figure. Like that's what it's always going to attempt to do. I set the sensitivity, like I've been playing with it back and forth, and I think we got it at a pretty good one where I can debunk a lot of things.
We got Rose.
That's 5'9". Yeah, you did a good job. You need to call me. Are you the one that lives down here?
Yeah.
Yeah. You and my daughter were great. She won't be here.
Really? I would love to do
5'9" and Rose.
Yeah.
Street address?
5'9" and Rose together, like there's no way you would have known that.
Really?
Wow.
Wait, what was
Oh,
Shut up.
why is it going off
It goes
again?
off every 15 minutes. It's different
Wait, did it
churches.
go off when I was
Yeah.
under? Did it go off after?
At the same
oh my
time.
gosh. At the same time I said it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
At
gonna,
the same exact time?
you're gonna hear it on the recording.
And the video.
It's
Hopefully.
crazy.
No, like everything went silent, and then it was like very
Yeah, because
faint.
you like jumped a little
Yeah,
bit.
you were like, bells. And then like the bells are going.
Because I was
No
asking
way.
Henry what
That's
he
so
was doing.
weird, yeah.
It's so crazy.
So, alright, come on in.
We're
Nicole,
gonna have
you got any
some
numbers, by the
fun
way?
stories for
What's
prom
funny is we
tomorrow.
normally get triple-digit
Guess
numbers
what,
here.
guys?
It's
I
100
communicated
bucks. Yeah.
with spirits last night.
So she heard the numbers 5'9" together, and then immediately heard, what, maybe a minute later, the word Rose. We talked about Dr. Ladd and where he lived, 59 Church Street. That is now known as the Thomas Rose House, and it is 0.3 miles that way.
Wow.
We've been getting more and more about the house specifically, including the color of the house, the word Rose, the address, and the word church.
The wife?
Obviously,
Is her
Henry.
name Victoria?
No, it was Katie. Now, Dr. Ladd did not have a wife. He was about to be married, if you remember, to his fiancée, Amanda. But 59 and Rose together consecutively, she would not know that that's called the Thomas Rose House. So she heard 5'9" and then said
I looked
Rose.
that
Do you
up.
have the color yellow that showed up on your word list, by
No.
the way? Because that's the color of the house. It is a bright yellow, large house, and he was renting a room in it.
It was
49.
Thomas Rose House?
Yes.
49.
So many numbers.
Yeah, he does get a lot of numbers. Yeah. So here's what your data is going to look like tomorrow morning. Everybody asked me about my investigations. Those are in the podcast at the very top. So that way we don't have to go through my 11 years of experience of doing this. If you want to listen to it, it's all there. Then you're going to see your set of data. Luckily for you, we're at the end of the month. I keep everything up there for an entire year. So that way you can go back to it whenever you want to. If you want to go back and look at a date specific to you, an anniversary, a birthday, or whatever, it's there if I had a tour. So it's all separated by month. Luckily, because I said for you, this way you don't have to scroll a whole lot to get to your set of data. I also make everything downloadable. Your videos are going to be on YouTube. Those are easy. Your audio pieces, which is these Spirit Box and the regular audio, those would be MP3s. So just right-click them and download them. And then all of my notes with the links in them to verify all of your data. I don't think I told you guys that, but I do give you links to verify everything I'm telling you.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah,
Oh, how fun.
yeah. This is not
I'm
like
never gonna sleep.
So this is not like we're gonna separate and you're done. I'm your new Zach Bagans. You guys find anything, This is why you guys are gonna all have my contact info, so that way you can get a hold of me when you do find something, because I'm only going to spot check it.
13.
If you find something else, then I am definitely going to dive into it, and I prove it debunked within 24 hours. Like, I'm pretty quick with it. Again, this is what I do for a living, guys. So by all means, text me, email me, do whatever you got to do. But your data set also has a field guide in it. So if you didn't have a thermal imaging camera, or the SLS isn't there because it's brand new, you can go to the field guide and see paranormal examples of things that were caught on previous tours, so you know what you're looking for, what you're listening for. It's all there to help you. This is a big, fun project. 40% of paranormal investigations, the evidence is caught in real time. The other 60 is by going through the media, which is why I give it back to you. So again, this is not over. This is far from over. However, I am
just taking data now when I review it.
exactly just like you do on the TV shows, because that's where most of your shit is. I also rate every investigation. I have my own little scoring system, and that goes into your conditions. When I say conditions, that's your moon phase, that's going to be your weather, how many people were here, and the tools that you used. So again, I keep track of all of those things, and it helps me study, like, hey, was it this jerk of a heckler that ruined everything, or was it the fact that I had the SLS and too many cameras and not enough spirit boxes? Again, the combination I use every night is different. I never know because I need to know who's here, so if that makes more sense. But at this point, I am going to stop your audio because that kind of gives me a gist of how much time. So I don't time this, 2 hours and 17 minutes. That's definitely going to give you, probably close to 7.5 to 8 hours worth of media coming back to you. Again, I'm going to spot check everything for about 2 to 2.5 hours. I'm normally done between 12 and 1. If I have to research something extra, like say a Victoria or something Frank that popped up, again, I'm going to spend a little bit of time. It may go past 1 o'clock. Some of you are on vacation. So is anybody here, like, you guys all live here now?
No, he and I live in Virginia.
Okay, gotcha. So again, I'm probably going to be doing vacation things and just chilling out anyway, but again, normally when I go through an investigation that was only 2 hours, it takes me 2 weeks to literally go through every single thing and piece it all together. I also go in the exact opposite the way you guys did tonight. I don't want to know other than there's a tragedy or some type of high emotion. I went to the Flight 93 Memorial. Obviously that is a plane crash. I don't want to know any of the passenger names. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know anything about grandmas or anything like that when you guys come to see me, so that way when I'm going through the spot check, it's weird, I'm going to write it down and put it in your notes. It might not mean anything to me in real time, but it's going to mean something to you later. So that's kind of how this goes. My business card is not a normal business card, it's a digital card. So basically, whip out your phones. If you have an iPhone, you'll have to take a picture of the QR code. If you use Android, you just tap it to the back of your phone and hold it. So I'll just start off with Lindsay and hand. Did I screw up anybody's name, by the way?
Nope.
I got you all down? Perfect. Except for sorry.
Alicia.
Oh my god, I called her Ashley like 4 times.
You did, I just go with
So
it.
you gotta correct me. So you're all characters to me. I'm the writer. Remember that. That's how I do that every night, except when I still screw up one name all night long. And it's okay. You're supposed to tell me this shit.
I know.
But it just goes to show, like, I haven't had a tour in 3 nights. I actually took some time off because my wife took some time off. So I was like, you know what? Nobody booked. I'm just gonna take a couple nights.
Here you go.
Perfect. Devices. Let me take those from you. Perfect.
No, you gotta get the
I know.
thing, right? Wait till it's scanned.
Okay. I can keep this right here.
Yeah, I'll take that. When you guys text me, just make sure you tell me the date. Now, Nicole's number is saved with the date, so I know which set of data. So it'll say, like, Nicole 3/30/23, so I know which set of data. If she emails me or texts me, like, a month from now. So that way I can go back and look at the right set of data. But the rest of you, if you're going to get in touch with me about something, just make sure you tell me what date you went. So I can look at your set.
Got it.
Okay, there's that.
Okay, this guy. What questions do you all have?
How'd you get started doing this?
I guess my biggest concern is, like, how do you not get into what you're absolutely passionate about?
Yeah.
Somebody actually recruited me out of my 6-figure job and said, I want you to be a tour guide for me. You're a great storyteller. I'm like, yeah, I don't do just, those guys don't make any money. So I told him I had equipment, kind of got into it. He listened to my podcast. That's how this got started. And he's like, I got to have you. He was starting a new company, and I told him no. But he eventually convinced me to walk away, and we started off with very minimal equipment and just kept growing it.
Yeah.
I learned what I could from him about tourism, and then I left. And I kept the same name because Stories in a Cemetery was mine anyway. So my wife designed the logo. She does all my back office work.